Hi everyone at Time to Thrive. Welcome to my amazing group, and it's just getting a little bit more amazing right now because tonight I have as a guest speaker on this group the amazing Cameron Beddy. Now, Cameron is a trainer in NLP, and he is an anxiety and mindset coach, which is incredible. The people he works with are all sorts, from everyday people up to celebrities, and he is sought after around the world on Zoom, right, and all over London. So to have Cameron here is so exciting, and I can't wait to share what he has to sort of teach us and to guide us with tonight, especially in these times talking about anxiety. So thanks for coming on, Cameron.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Brilliant. So Cameron, how did you get into going down the path for over 10 years now of becoming a coach for anxiety and mindset?
It was a very natural transition for me. So as I knew you back in the day as a professional dancer, I danced for 8 years. I kind of got bored towards the end of being in and out of work, being on set, and I wanted something different. So I started teaching Pilates. I started working with people on a one-to-one level, and that reignited something in me because I was making a difference in people's lives. I was working with a lot of injured people, a lot of inflexible people, and they were very normal corporate people. So when you're in the performing industry, which is really extrovert, I was working with very different people, but making big improvements because I really knew the body. And then what happened was I had a few clients that weren't getting very good results. Physically, they were better, but they still had pain. And I became fascinated with the mind-body connection. And I wanted to learn more about the mind. So I started reading NLP books. And one of the books I read demonstrated a small exercise where you could change a memory from the past. And I was literally reading this paragraph, changed the memory, followed the instructions, and then thought, oh my God, if I've just changed that for myself, what else can I do? And there was this kind of big realization. I was like, how am I in my 20s? How have I got all the way to this point in my life and I don't even know what to do with my own mind? Like, I've learned stuff, I've had this career, I'm in a new career, but it's like, how have I got to this point? I don't know what to do with my own mind. So I went and trained in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, for my own personal development, because I'd had this new business working with people. Didn't want to do anything else. It was for my own benefit, my own development. And then when I came off the course, because I already had Pilates clients, they wanted to know where I'd been, what I'd been doing, and they wanted to sample a bit. So I started using it, and it just grew from there. Yeah, wow. So that's how it was a natural transition, but it's all about learning. I love learning. I love learning things that I can do for my own life and my own mind and my own health. I'm really into health and wellness, but I suddenly realized there's so many people out there that aren't really aware of what they can do with their mind in two ways: in how to deal with things, but also their unlimited potential. Like, once you deal with the things that are getting to you or giving you self-doubt or lack of confidence, it can make things feel better. But once you actually realize that your mind is your biggest and greatest tool, you can change the way you're living. You can change the results that you're getting, the way that you're working, your relationships, your parenting, your finances, because it all starts with you. And so as I now train coaches in NLP and hypnosis, we often have a conversation on the training. People are like, why weren't we taught this in school?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to come back and
say. Exactly. Like we've all been through experiences and difficulties, and I think as humans, we're really good at being able to hold things in, repress things, not deal with things, and also smile and act as if everything's okay. But it can really affect your health, not just mentally, but physically. I was very stressed in my 20s, to a point where I was repressing things, and to the point where my skin started to I had skin problems and my hair started to fall out and things like that. So, when I realized I needed to work on myself and the mind and body was connected, my health completely improved. So I just feel like the passion comes from now showing people, teaching them, educating them in ways that they can take ownership of their own mindset.
That's exactly right. Like when we think about how we're educated and how we're brought up right from primary school, like you must do PE, you must do physical exercise. There's such an emphasis on physical exercise to keep ourselves fit, but there's a huge lacking,
Mm.
especially I think for my generation. It might get got a little bit better now. I know a lot of children do mindfulness at school and things,
Mm.
but for our generation, Cameron,
Yeah.
like it was never even mentioned. We were never told about the power of our minds, about our self-talk, our self-value. Just no mention of it whatsoever. Everything was about being physical, being fit, physically fit, and not mentally fit. And
Yeah.
really, if you're not looking after your mind, then you can't look after the rest of your body.
No,
um, which is just mind blowing,
it
because
is.
we really need that, especially right now. We really need to be aware of our mind and what our mind is doing, what it's thinking, and it's so, so important. Um,
Mm.
so I wanted to ask you, in these times, obviously, I keep saying these times, but everyone's saying that right now, but it's obviously a lot of there's a lot of reason to get worried
Yeah.
about things, worried about the future, worried about tomorrow. There's a lot of there's a lot of opportunity to
Mm.
get worried right now. If you
Mm.
watch the TV, I don't really watch the TV too much,
Yeah.
but if you watch the
I
news,
just switch it off as well. Yeah.
yeah, then oh my gosh, the list for worrying right now could be like 10, 100 million, billion, trillion miles long. um, is there a point where worrying, we all worrying turns into something more serious, that is like anxiety? Where is that? Is worrying different to anxiety? Like if I'm just worried about things, is it different to if I have anxiety?
So it's really interesting that you asked that, because with things, I think and see anxiety as like an umbrella term. So people say I'm anxious or I have anxiety, but underneath that term, what is happening? What are you experiencing? Because if you say you have anxiety and I have anxiety, it can be completely different with what we feel and what it's about and what's going on in our life, right? So underneath that umbrella, it could be anything. It could definitely be worry. I could be worrying about something. It could be panic, right? So it could be no worry, but I could be actually panicking. It could be fear. So there could be no panic, no worry, but I could be really fearful. Or it could be overthinking, like thinking the worst case scenarios. It could be lack of confidence and then nervousness about doing something going forward. Or it could be like real worry about providing for your family or your finances, your job. So where people use anxiety, it can actually filter into so many different single areas or even mix. So it could be worry, it could be panic, it could be fear. And from the people I work with, I see people experiencing it very differently. So if a person is experiencing anxiety, I always encourage them to try to get more specific. So to look at what specifically you're feeling. Is it worry? Is it fear? Is it panic? What specifically are you anxious about? Because it might be that they're anxious about their home life and nothing else, but it might be they're anxious about their job, but their home life's really good. So it's getting specific so that you can then focus in on that area.
Yeah, that's such good advice,
That
because I
makes
know
sense.
when I think I'm getting anxious or feel a bit out of control, or flappy, have those flappy days.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just flapping around, like, and I don't know particularly why, but to pinpoint if to sit down and actually pinpoint the reason and think, okay, why am I feeling like this? Then that
Yeah.
surely means that then you can start to work on sort of a solution, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what coaching is all about. It's about looking at where you are specifically and what the solutions are available or the actions you can take. So even as a coach, I'm still, I'm still human. I still feel things. So when the pandemic started last year in March, I suddenly, and I do a lot of meditations, a lot of relaxation. I'm quite a chilled person, but I suddenly started to feel really anxious about my parents because the virus, they're older, they're up in the Midlands, I'm in London, and I started to really worry. So I was like, hang on, what am I feeling anxious about specifically? And it's like my parents, their health. I'm here, they're there. So exactly like you're saying, what's the solution? What can I do? So because I was worried about them, they stopped going out, they shielded. But I made as my solution the conscious efforts that every single day, because I was working at home, I would have a video call with them on my lunch. So whereas before I was working, going out doing things, so I made that my solution to see them, to check in on them, to give them company. And thank God we've got this technology to do that. Whereas 100 years ago, you know, with the flu, there was no phones, there was nothing like that. You know, you would have just been isolated. But I found the solution and executed the solution, which made me feel better about them. So
Yeah.
you're definitely right. You've got to look at what's happening, where you are, what are the solutions, and how you're going to make those solutions your reality.
Yeah, I guess then instead of just feeling like your whole world is out of control, you know
Mm.
what bit is making you feel like that,
Yeah,
rather than just being like, whoa, everything's out of control. Really,
yeah,
is everything out of control, or is
exactly.
that one thing making you feel like that? That's
That's yeah.
amazing. I've
That's
never really
exactly.
thought of it like that,
Mm.
because I don't know if anyone, you guys know my story, but I was also a professional dancer,
Mm.
and I experienced this crippling anxiety when I had my baby.
Mm.
And I was out in LA living the life of a professional dancer, working with megastars, superstars, at the pinnacle of my career. And then
Yeah.
I had my baby. Obviously became pregnant, had a baby. And I thought, it's fine. We'll just carry on. But I had my baby and things just changed so much for me and what I wanted out of life, what I saw myself doing, my passion for dance
Mm.
kind of minimalized a lot because I just
Mm.
didn't want to go off and leave my baby. I didn't want to go on
No.
tours and random jobs here, there, all over. And so everything changed, and that's when I experienced this crippling anxiety, and I just let everything get out of control. And I was telling myself I can't do anything else, I don't know how to do anything else, which is complete rubbish. I mean,
Mm.
I was saying I don't have any other skills, all this stuff, and I was telling myself, because I was just out of control with it, I felt out of control with my life, and I let everything get out of control, and I ended up just literally going to bed a lot and letting myself be
Right.
absolutely swallowed
So,
up. And if I
yeah.
had that advice, Cameron, and had someone to sit down with me and say, okay, what's making you feel like this, and what's pinpointing it, and working
Mm.
on an actual solution rather than getting swallowed up in it, then that would have
Yeah.
helped me massively. So what you do is just so important, Cameron, and the
And
people
so,
you must be able to help.
but I'm so glad that in that explanation you can relate that to yourself, because that's important for me, that you can take that in and be like, oh my God, that's where I was, this makes sense. So now as you move forward, when you have those feelings, you can stop, you can pause, you can reflect and think, hang on, what's this about? What am I feeling? What are my solutions? How can I move forward? Actually, it's not about everything, because when it feels like it's everything, and it's so natural to feel like that, you can feel overwhelmed. And exactly, unfortunately, and you're so open for sharing that, it can feel like such an emotional weight that you just don't want to do anything, or you just want to lie down or shut yourself off. So you've now got that value that you can think, hang on, let me get specific, let me take action, so that you can carry life as you can.
So next up,
Mm.
I wanted to ask you. So before we get to that point of anxiety and being feeling like everything's out of control and letting it take over us, um, are there things that we can be doing every day or every
Mm.
other day to almost prevent us getting that far? To before it spirals
Yes.
out of control. I mean, even if you think you're fine, oh, I'm fine, I'm dealing with it, I'm coping with all this, but are there things almost like healthy eating? I mean, we can eat
So,
proper food to
absolutely.
prevent getting sick. Are there things that we can do, even if we think we don't need them, that we could be doing to prevent getting to that point of out of control anxiety?
Absolutely. You have to be real. You have to check in with yourself and think, how am I feeling? How am I living? And exactly what can I do to improve things? Everyone's different, so everyone has to work out what they're doing. But general things like exercise is really good, because it's good for the mind. It's good to breathe, to get movement. I was putting some tips out on my Instagram that actually in lockdown, I've just started to realize there's so much exercise online, right? So you don't have to go out, but you can follow programs, or even on YouTube there's so much. So exercise is really good, Meditation is really good, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's more spiritual based, whatever it is. Breathing is good. And then, if you can still get out, to go around being with nature, right? So walking in the park, being mindful of the trees, the surroundings, even though it's winter, all these are things that are inexpensive and that can actually have a structure to your day, whether it's working out, meditating, going out. But also, I think at this time, being social in this setting of this digital realm, of like making sure you're speaking to your family, your friends, having that social to feel good. A brilliant thing for anyone that's emotionally low is comedy, because when you laugh, it naturally breaks your like you feel it so physically. So when it was March last year, my husband and I were making sure that every single night we were watching comedy on Netflix, because it was uncertain, we didn't know what was going on, but as long as we were laughing, it was shifting some of the tense feelings. So when you think about it, there's a lot we can do.
Yeah, and would you say that start doing them now, even if you feel fine,
Yeah.
in order that if you did start feeling out of control, you'd have a handle on it? Would that make sense?
I think so. I think there's various, for different people, golden opportunities in these times, and you've got to find them. So whereas my life before March last year was always on the go, going out to clients, going out to groups, working, and I love that, driving across London, doing that. But being on the go, I had less time for me to work out, and my eating was always up and down. Being grounded at home, having more time and moved everything online, I've naturally eaten healthier and worked out more. But since March, so because that took me all over summer, I realized and reflected that's become a lifestyle for me now. So it's become a natural habit. So I crave healthier food and I crave exercise naturally, which is good for my mind, good for my body. So really, this could be for a lot of people a time to create positive habits naturally that can have a very long-term lasting effect as you develop a better lifestyle, because you've got the time and opportunity.
Exactly. I could not agree more.
Yeah.
This time, I have intentionally, everyone on this group will know that I have been hosting a 7 a.m. workout for the last
Oh,
month
amazing.
and the rest of this month now. And whether anyone shows up or not, I commit to that. And it's been intentional for me, if not for anyone else, as part of my way to get through this time. And like you said, being more mindful about my nutrition. And yeah, I don't think I would have really thought. I always worked out, but I
Yeah.
did sporadically. There was no. I mean, I do like a class here, a class there, but this time has given me consistency as well
Yeah.
with that and my nutrition. Just consistency, which then becomes a habit, like you say, the more you're consistent with something. So you're right. Like this time, we can use to develop those skills and habits that when all this is over will
Yeah.
continue in our lives. So this, like you said, it's a golden opportunity, and that's an amazing way to think of this, because already that makes this situation a positive experience instead of a negative one. He's a
Yeah.
genius. He's a genius, Cameron Betty. You're a genius.
I love
So my last question to you is: everybody right now, um, pretty much everyone has have to adapt their life and
yeah.
pivot. That's the word of the year in the last year. Pivot. We're all having to do it, and we're all having to accept that. But change is hard.
Mm.
I learned that firsthand. Change, when you're settled in your life, maybe your routine of what you do every day, and sudden change is hard and it's scary. And
Mm.
I know for me, adapting, not just now, but when I had my baby and I was no longer identifying with that dancer that I
Mm.
had spent my life striving for.
Mm.
I no longer felt that as my identity, so I didn't know what the hell I was anymore. And for
Mm.
me, pivoting then was scary, and pivoting now for people having to
Mm.
find new ways to do things, new careers, new
Mm.
businesses, that work online. For me, I have an online business in health and
Mm.
wellness with
Yeah.
Arbonne, and
Yeah.
the fear of even doing that was there for so long in order to push forward with that. How would you say your best advice with your mindset coaching, how do you
Mm.
help people push forward and get over? Well, I don't think you get over it, but do it anyway. How do you face the fear and do it anyway, Cameron?
Face the fear. I think you have to take one day at a time and then break that down into 1 week at a time. So the days that you're going to focus on for that week, because if you start to think too long term, it can feel really overwhelming. And you can think, and it might feel far away or too daunting. So if you bring it down to the days for this week, what am I going to do? What actions am I going to take? And think about those results that it's going to give you, and embracing that change for that week. Lead then with, do what's important to you, because every person will be different, especially in this situation. When you tap into and you listen and follow what's important to you, you start to follow your values. Now, values shift when people go through different experiences or different things happen. So my values shifted from being a performer, wanting something else, and the value was to help other people. You had a value shift, whether you realize it or not, but it sounds like you had one when you had your baby, when you had your daughter. There was a value shift. She's important to me. My husband, being a mother is important, not performing. Right? So ask yourself, whoever is listening to this, what's important to me for today? What's important to me for my week? Is it my children? Is it me? Is it my health? Is it learning some new skills? Is it having calls with people to try and get my work, my business going? Like, do what's important at the time now to help you to embrace change, but take it day by day, week by week.
And do you say that because if you think about it year by year, it's just too overwhelming? Is that what you say?
It can be, and everyone's different. And I'm really glad that you asked that, because you can then look, after you've looked at your day by day, week by week, and what's important. My favorite questions as a coach, some of them are to consider, where will your life be a year from now? Right? So we're all in this uncertain time, but that comes down to you thinking, really, do I want to be still in the same position 12 months from now? Do I still want my anxiety? Do I still want my depression? Do I still want to have not taken that course, written that book, launched that business? Because a year goes by quick. So where will you be a year from now? You can think about that. And then you can think, where will I be if I take action? And where will I be if I don't take action?
Yeah.
Right? And that's a good way to think and to motivate yourself, and also to get clarity over how you're going to focus and move forward with the things that you're doing. Because before you know it, you'll be in a position a year's time, and you'll either look back and think, thank God I did it, I changed it, I created it, or you might even realize I'm still here. And the scary thing is with people when you coach them, and even in my own life, and you look at it, what goes past really quickly is 5 years. 5 years goes past so quick, and you don't want to be in the same uncomfortable position in 5 years' time. You want to have healed, evolved, grown, done what you want to feel fulfilled and happy and things like that. Which is why when you look ahead, time is really important. So it is good to look ahead, but it's also good to be specific with now.
Yeah. So not only thinking where will you be, but how will you feel in a year's time? I
Yeah.
know that motivates me when I
Yeah.
think, oh, I can't do this,
Yeah.
even getting on doing lives and things, like it's uncomfortable. It is like these
It's so
Facebook
natural
lives.
and so good.
No, no, because this, I don't know. In the back of my head, we're doing this on Zoom and we're recording
Right,
it,
okay,
so
okay.
I still have
Got
the
you.
power to edit. Now doing a live for
Okay.
my workouts in the morning, like I got butterflies in my
Mhm.
stomach before we start. Like
Right.
it's uncomfortable. So it's always gonna be uncomfortable. Well, not always, but to begin with, it will be
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But do you want to succumb to that? And for
Yeah.
me, where where will I be in a year's time? But also, how will I feel in a year's time when I look at what I've
Mm.
created? Will I be sad, disappointed in myself, still frustrated? Or
Mm.
will I be, no matter how far I've got, as long as I've got a little bit further forward, will I feel proud? Will I feel self-worth? Will I feel, happy about what I have achieved, no matter how big it is, but as long as I've moved forward? So the feeling that I'm going to have in a year's time is a massive motivation for me too.
Great.
Yeah. Amazing. So Cameron, you also have a book, which I
Yep.
believe
I have.
is pretty damn successful.
It's done really well. It's got lots of tools and techniques to help people with their mindset. It's called Your Mind is Your Home. Yeah, it offers kind of lots of NLP tools on how to stop overthinking, how to work with your anxiety. Yeah.
And how can people purchase that book? On Amazon or?
On Amazon, yeah, especially in these current times, Amazon. You can order from Waterstones and things like that, but yeah, through delivery, yeah.
So remind us again, what's it called?
Your Mind is Your Home.
Amazing. So thank you, Cameron. And I just want to say it's so important, the work that you do and other professionals like yourself do. And I know to get to a point where you can coach takes a lot of dedication and training and learning and book reading and so much to get to that point where you can help others. So thank you so much for coming on here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And yeah, and I just wanted to say, once we all do those things that I was talking about, like for my health and wellness business, for instance, and moving forward with that, you realize that, like you said, it's not just about yourself. Like it helps others, and that is the best feeling ever. So that's what you do for people.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
So have you got any last messages from my amazing group?
I think take one day at a time, show up to the workouts, get involved in the group with the other people, interact, form a community. We have a great opportunity, especially online now, to connect with people, to read, to learn, to support each other. Whereas 100 years ago, we would have been confined to the people in our homes and that's it. So, we have this opportunity to keep going and adjust to the ways and embrace all that we do have.
Amazing. Wow, what a privilege. I feel so privileged that you came on here. I know you have some high...
Very nice to share with you and to reconnect with you.
Oh, and you too. And I know you have some high-end celebrity clients that you also help. So I feel absolutely honoured. Thank you so much, Cameron.